Hey everyone, we are back after many months without the league prediction show, and we have some different faces. Unfortunately, Croissant unable to join us for the league prediction show anymore because he's literally coaching a team, so it's a bit of a conflict of interest. They had squares up for him today. The good news is I've checked, and apparently, if Near Airport loses, we can get him back, so that'll be great. We can all root against Near Airport.
Nice.
And
Before
then
the airport. Yeah.
our good pal Elias went off and got himself a job at Riot Games, for which I am very happy for him. But that also just means that he is unavailable for the show. So we have upgraded, honestly. But before we get to our guests, I will introduce my co-host here, Cubby. How's it going?
I'm good. Excited to be back and doing a few of these right in time for LTA North playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. We were kind of figuring out some stuff on the back end with all this stuff, and we're gonna do a couple episodes, and we might rotate some of the guests on the show. But I'm happy that we're back and that we were. I knew my goal was bring the show back for playoffs, so I'm super happy to be here. Besides Cubby and myself, we have Kangas here. Kangas, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing well. I don't know why you're saying it's an upgrade because you needed two people to replace Croissant, but
No,
you know
Elias
what?
was also
I'll take it.
here. Elias
Oh,
was
he
also here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in that case, yes, I will take upgrade then.
Okay.
But happy
I don't know which
we've
one
not
of you
done this in a
upgraded
while.
Croissant and which upgraded Elias, but we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Shout out Elias though, dude. That guy's great brain, great content, and happy to have him back at Riot. But
Great hat collection.
So
great hack collection, true.
Kangas,
Fellow CLG fan.
I think it'd be fun for both of you. We'll hear in a second as we introduce you as well. But Kangas, what is your experience with fantasy? Because I know you're going to be sharing some lineups that you like the idea of on the show here in a second. So I'm wondering what you've experienced before. Do you play, non-cash fantasy, or how do you play?
I have only ever played fantasy for League of Legends. I'm not a traditional sports guy, so I know a lot of people come from a background of like, oh, they did it for like NFL or like other sports leagues. I have none of that. I literally started with fantasy back at like the Riot owned one in 2016. So and then it changed to like a different one from like the 2020 era on, and then it was gone for a while, and now it's back. Riot has like their own fantasy too. So I only ever do it whenever it's available for Riot Games. So looking at all the options here, I was like, I don't know what half of this means, but two of these seem like easy wins. So I was like, you know what? Cool, let's just go with those. But it's kind of cool. I like any version of fantasy just because it's just a way to like interact with the product a little more closely. So anything I can do that just gets my brain thinking more about certain matchups and certain expectations, I always think is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, joining us, and for the first time I think that we've been on camera together, is none other than Mahir, who has done a ton of coverage of the LTA and I guess LCS before it. Mahir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Travis. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So what is similar question to you? What is your experience with fantasy?
So prior to the LTA fantasy, I have a really extensive background in fantasy football. I've been
really?
playing since I was like 14, I think, and I'm 22. So I've been playing for almost 8 years. And then previously, the alternative to like what they have right now was on an app called Sleeper. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of it. And me and my friends from high school, we've usually had leagues on Sleeper. I think last year, 2024, was the first time we didn't do it. And obviously, we didn't do it this year because there's like the LTA one. But 2023 to when I started playing League, we were really involved in fantasy. So it's definitely something I understand the hype of, and I'm also someone who I enjoy fantasy quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to get your takes and lineups. Yeah, go ahead, Cubby.
Quick aside, Mahir, we Survivor finished yesterday. That's how our league decided our pick order for fantasy football for the year. I've been in the 10-man league for 10 years. So we all picked two random contestants from Survivor. However they finished, it's like where we get to choose our pick. I won. I took first pick. The guy who just got married in my league on his honeymoon pings me, what does it take for number one? I'm like, this guy wants to do a trade in his honeymoon. I'm here for it. He takes the third pick. So I traded them the first pick of the draft for the third pick of the draft. I get his fourth round. He gets my seventh round. And the entire league was pissed at us because we made a deal before they all got a pick and like got to actually like try and trade for pick one. But because like he hustled and I just said, yes, it's done. And they were all just like The commissioner was like, I question why I do this every year.
I mean, I think the worst part of this is I feel like opening a fantasy app on a honeymoon should be grounds to sleep on the couch.
No,
So like,
he specifically said I'm doing research when he was going on his honeymoon, which is why Foley approves of.
oh, okay, so she's really supportive of it. Okay, good to know. The
Yeah.
woman I talked to, I would get my behind kicked. I would get my behind kicked. So,
He's been sending pictures of like fantasy football magazines and like his drinks beats like he's in the Dominican Republic. Like that's what this guy's doing.
bro, like,
Incredible.
what are you doing, man?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Shout out to Ross. Shout out to Ross.
Well, getting back to the league stuff, I do want to give a big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. And if you haven't watched the show before, the way this works is we do some predictions around what we think are some good picks on Prize Picks, but we kind of layer that with a little bit of methodology. So even if Prize Picks is maybe not available in your area, or it's something that you're not really interested in, or maybe you're not able to play it, there's, I think, some value in the show here where you also get to learn a little bit about like what people's reasonings are as we head off into playoffs, and we got the matches this weekend. So it's kind of a fun little best of both worlds. I will say we do have a video that I recorded. You've probably seen it on Hotline League if you watch Hotline League, but just in case, I'm going to air it so that if you are confused about how the app works, because I know for a lot of people this type of thing could be a little overwhelming when they first open it, we're going to explain how that works now. So I'm going to mute our friends here, and we're going to go over to that video and as we head over now.
This video is brought to you by Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching your favorite esports or sports. So I'm going to show you right now how this works on the app. It's super easy to use. So maybe I like Jojo Pyun at more than 9.5 deaths over the first 3 games of his series. And maybe I believe Mickey X is going to get less than 31 assists. I'll go in and hit finalize lineup, where it'll show me that if both these things end up coming true and I play an entry fee of, let's say, $20, I'm going to end up winning $60. Prize Picks is available in over 40 states, including California and Texas. And if you sign up, use that link below. It's a big thing that you can do to help me. You can use code Travis whenever you make your first lineup of $5 or more. Win or lose, they're going to give you $50. Now, please only choose to play Prize Picks if you can do so responsibly, but doing so and signing up does help my channel very much. And you can actually join the discussion with other TGI viewers in my Discord. We have a Prize Picks channel. If you're trying to get into it, that's a great place to start. So thanks so much to Prize Picks for sponsoring this piece of content.
Cool. So we are back now with our folks. I do just want to say, if you're watching this either live or over on YouTube and you have questions about any of this, you can definitely join my Discord, which is just discord.gg/Travis. There's a Prize Picks channel, and we have some people, including Adam, who I see in the chat right now underneath a non-rabbit, who is always there helping people and giving them thoughts on their lineups and explaining how the app works and stuff. So you can always check it out there. Either way, let's go ahead and get into some predictions. So Cubby, I know that you have been you've been working on your predictions. You've done this before, so I thought maybe we would start with you. And as I realize this, we're going over to the Prize Picks page, but I don't have the new layout up, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now so that as you're talking, we'll get your face on screen.
I will say, I was a little bit bummed. My favorite square, shout out to Ian, has been the APA Death Square, because this guy's a player. Better or worse. Usually I take more, and I like picking mores because I like to root for things. This was win or loss. This would land, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have death squares up at the moment, so I'm actually hoping for a change there. Anyway, I am, crazily enough, I'm on the Whippo plus Inspired plus Quad, more than 34 kills.
Yeah!
The first 3 maps. This is a stupid number. But I think that, like, when these guys get ahead, I question how clean a playoff series is going to be against Shopify Rebellion, who I feel like their only way out is to fight a lot of the time with the way they play. And when FlyQuest gets ahead, I'm going to be honest, they play with a bit of ego, which for me leads to more kills. So that is the number one vibe check, is what we have. The second one would be Vulcan. Or wait, no.
You got this. I believe in you. We've got Whippo Inspired Quad for more.
Deciding, you know?
yeah, he's in the moment. He had second doubts. He said Vulcan, and then he's like, "Oh, actually, I'm not sure about
Vulcan less than 29 map assists.
Okay.
For whatever godforsaken reason, I feel like that series is just going to be cleaner. And I think the TL, they're actually valued pretty evenly. C9 is valued a little bit more than TL, so they're a little bit favored. I do think that series might be close.
Gotcha. So this is this is a 2-square lineup for you.
Yes.
Okay.
The first one is crazy. Like, that number should be illegal, but for whatever reason, I feel like this series like hits that illegal number.
So
that number's way too big than what it should be. For
clarification for people who are unfamiliar, this means that you think that in the first 3 games of their match versus SR, that they will get collectively between the 3 players, Bwipo, Inspired, and Quad, 34 kills.
More than, correct.
More than 34 kills, yes.
For the second one, I believe that in the first 3 games for C9 versus Team Liquid, Vulcan will get less than 29 map assists.
Okay.
The Vulcan one, I think, is a little harder to be sure about because that's over first 3 games, right?
Well, yeah. So pretty much like my thought process on that is one game clean for one side or the other, right?
Sure.
And then if something's sloppy, then everyone benefits. For whatever reason, I have more faith for C9 and TL to be clean, just from what I've seen so far out of both teams.
Okay. I think for support, like, it's pretty common for double-digit assist games. So you're basically saying you just expect Vulcan to have like a big enough dud in those 3 games,
or like a TL clean game where no one benefits, right? So that's kind of my thought process.
Interesting. Okay.
Mahir,
I guess
what do you
now that I think about it
Kangas,
again, it's not that wild.
Yeah, because like a clean game for TL means what, 5 support assists, then the other 2, win or lose. Yeah, or if it gets messy, that's where it gets scary when you go less, right?
Honestly, for me, like looking at this, I think chat's like mentioning a little bit. I absolutely believe in the top side of FlyQuest being some of the best performers in that entire series.
Ego, guys. That because more than 34.5, like that is an ego square. But I think they can do it.
At first, I thought about it. Like, at first, I looked at it. I'm like, oh, 3 players. That number is going to be pretty easy to do. And then I just started, like, scrolling through GOL and their match history. And one thing I noticed is Quad typically has low kill, really high assist games. It's, like, really interesting. So part of me is, like, I feel like that line is hittable. Like, it's not, like, out of the realm of possibility. But for me, just based on the way they play, it feels like
they're less. Like, because the average player, again, is less. That's why I said, like, the fact I'm doing this, I have faith in the egos. I do.
No, for sure. And I see what you're saying, especially against, like, a team like Shopify, who I think, like you said, their only way out is fighting, which will lead to naturally more fights, whether that's objectives. Like, these guys will fight even if it's a bad fight. So you're probably going to see more kills. But part of me is, like, just based on the champions that I feel like we're gonna see them pick. Part of me just believes that it won't be as kill hungry specifically for Quad and Inspired, because we did see some nerfs to both Jin Zhao and is it Jin? We saw some nerfs. We saw some nerfs to the Zhao and also Nefiri. I think the Jin Zhao nerfs are like pretty nothing, but the Nefiri nerfs to me are like enough to where that champion isn't Z tier. I think it's like a low S, high A tier. So part of me has like a gut feeling that Inspired is going to be put on tank / Ivern / Maokai duty. And for that reason, I think that square is a little bit risky, because if they play the way they did,
I agree. I think that square is way too high. But there's also like who gets the Viego game, right? That's something where I think that later on in Fearless drafts, that's big. Or Jarvan is something that I expect to actually sneak back in. And they are banning Ivern still against FlyQuest, so that for me is like a really low kill game in theory with Ivern in it. So
I disagree with like the nerfs being a big reason, but I do agree with the champ pool here that like Inspired will play low kill count junglers.
Trundle's back.
And then, I mean, should I just like throw in one of my squares, or like
no? I think so. I like this because you guys are already naturally doing what I like to do, where somebody throws it out and then you guys both decide whether or not you would tail that square or that lineup. So it sounds like neither Kangas or Mahir are here to support your lineup, Cubby. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
The way I did this is I broke it down just by numbers, right? 34 across the 3 players is essentially 11 kills each. Across 3 games is close to 4 kills each. It's a little less than four kills, like 3.7 or 3.66 or something like that, right? So I think that is a relatively high average for all of them to get, but all it takes is like Whippo having a pop-off game with like 9 kills to really put them over that. So I don't think it's like outside the realm of possibility, but I'm definitely erring more on this less likely to happen than likely to happen. So it just like numbers wise, I don't see like a close to 4 average kills across the first 3 games, despite the fact that I do think they're going to smash Shopify Rebellion. Like I think it's going to be a 3-game series over 3-0.
I agree.
I think they're going to be like a little too fast and a little too clean. But you never know. I mean, yeah. But have fun with that one, Cubby.
You never know. Yeah. The confidence from Kangas is overflowing here in support.
Oh yeah.
So that's Cubby's lineup. By the way, shout out really quickly. I do want to say thank you to Nylok TV Senpai, or Nylok for 1 year Senpai, Joshi Koala, Masu IRL, Smoke Dog, Wide Quasi, Better Call Saul, Golden KS. Thank you everybody for all of the subs over on Twitch. I'm not trying. We're paying attention to the chat. I'm just going through all this together. Okay, Kangas. We can just go in this order. Kangas, what lineup do you have for us?
Okay, so funnily enough, I had the less than 34 kills for the triple.
That's for real, right? You didn't just pick that just now after hearing that?
No.
I would like it out of spite. I think it's fun.
I had that. The other one that I think is a kind of a gimme. This one I'm actually really surprised by how low this number is, because I probably would have been confident to go for it even if it was higher. The APA plus Jan 22.5 across 3 games. I know that's going to be a closer series, and it's the scary part is like they could lose the first 2 games and like still have a bounce back. I think it's gonna be close either way. But like when I'm looking at who gets the kills on Team Liquid, other than when they had Eiji in and they really held his hand and kind of like helped him get into that series, I think it's APA and it's Jan as the ones that really carry that. And again, just breaking it down by like 3 games, 11.25 for each of them. So that one I'm a little more confident because the 80 carries in the mix as opposed to the FlyQuest top 3, which was basically the same math breakdown. But just because Jan's in there, I'm like, yeah, no, I actually think that one's way more likely to happen. So I picked more than 22.5 for APA plus Jan for Team Liquid.
Oh, it's interesting. So you went with double combos here.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but yes.
Well, a lot of people will just do sort of like what Cubby did with his, like, I think, Vulcan is going to get less than this or more than this, but so I feel like these like combo squares are a little less popular. So I like that you went with both of them. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, so I'm with Kangas in terms of taking the more on that square. And there's a couple things that I looked into. So first of all, Jan has the highest kills per game in the entire league at 5.7. So that already is like very reassuring, because when you start looking at the other 80 carries, they're closer to that 3 kills a game, which isn't bad. But I think with this kind of line, TL is the kind of team where no matter what, Jan is playing well. It doesn't matter what champ, that guy is always playing amazing. Even the most recent series they played against, I believe it was SR, where Eiji debuted, Eiji looked amazing. But also Jan had like a million kills. So it's like regardless of who's playing well, it typically the damage and the kills will be carried by Jan. And I think AP is a really good complementary pick to that, because he had the 9-kill Nico game. But even if he doesn't, even if he has like a subpar game on a control mage, like let's say a 3 or 4 kill Orianna game, I still think he's kind of the cherry or icing on top to kind of complement the Jan square. And I have a lot of confidence in specifically the more on the 22.5 kills, just because of the way they approach the game. And I also think that C9 series against FlyQuest was a little bit telling to me. And I think a lot of the weaknesses that they displayed are weaknesses that I could see revitalized TL exploiting, such as Core JJ getting super active in the early game, playing through Eiji. I feel like that is something that could set Blabber and Loki behind as a 2v2. And I feel like if they're able to control the map state, which historically macro has been one of TL's strengths, if we go back to when they were kind of at their peak, I'd say 2024 last year, in terms of recent peaks. So I feel like if they can kind of lean into the strength that is macro, I feel like we're going to see both Yon and APA in really good spots to score a lot of kills.
Yeah, and the reason there was another one there that was like APA Yon plus UG. I think it was that 3 combo. Did anyone remember seeing that one, or am I misquoting? I actually, I'm
Yes.
stuck on
no,
the
there's APA
LCK.
Impact and UG. I don't see AP on.
Impact UG. There we go. That one I was less confident to go on because we just don't know if UG is going to be playing all 3 of the first games. So it's really tough to know if that's going to be above or below because it's a 6-man roster. So that one's like a big coin flip there. When I think of the jungle matchup, it is UG in his 3rd stage game up against Blabber, who's like, the GOAT of NA basically. So like that's. I think so. That's going to be tough. I wouldn't be surprised if they did split time with Umpty during that series. So.
Me neither. I think it's very fair.
Yeah, and for those that are confused about this, because rarely is this actually relevant, but it's very relevant in other sports, there's something called like a DNP or do not play that will occur if the player does not play, which just sort of in these smaller lineups of squares, it's I think it just sort of refunds out the thing. But I believe on a 4-man or 4-square situation, it ends up being a free square, is what I'm seeing Adam say in the chat, and I believe that's what I've seen previously. So, yeah, that's kind of like the fun thing that happens there. Yeah, so it's a refund on a 2-man, says Adam. So just for clarity's sake, for people who are trying to figure out if they want to do something with UG or whatever this weekend, that's how a lot of that stuff works. So, okay, so Mahir, it sounds like you like Kangus's lineup.
Yeah, that is actually one of these squares that I put on my own. Okay. And I also have 2 more that I believe, I mean, depending on what Kangus says for his other selections, he may or may not have. But I definitely
you're locking this in, right, Kangus? In our metaphorical situation, this is the lineup you're going for?
Absolutely. Just those 2, though. That's the only ones that I got for me.
Okay, Cubby, you have not weighed in yet. I know one of these is at odds with yours, even though you claim that you agree that it's like not the right play, which is an interesting strategy, I feel like, for this, to say, I know this is the wrong play, but I'm making it anyway. So, but what do you think of Kangus's lineup here?
Outside of the square being different, I'm aligned with Mahir. I didn't have much to add. I think Mahir's argument was better than mine. So, yeah, I actually don't mind it. I like that square for AP and Yon, and I'm curious to hear what else Mahir has, as that is one of his.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's quote unquote lock this in as the Kangus prediction for this show. Mahir, what do you got for us?
Either me or Cubby will be happy. I think,
Sure. Or you could both be wrong.
I feel like whenever you are picking squares, you typically look for the overs. So I feel like that's been the conversation for both Cubby's pick and Kangus pick. My next pick is actually a less.
Okay.
I think the Seos assist less. I believe the number was 18.5 when I looked at it.
Yes, 18.5. Yes.
It's going to be less, and here's why. So when you look at, again, I'm going to reference GOL. When you look at Seos' GOL, he averages 77.2 assists per game, which would put him above that number, but I was curious how he performs in Shopify's losses. And if you look at their losses, he averages 5.1, but that's also including an outlier against I believe it was a 40-minute game against Dignitas where he had about 13 assists. So if you subtract that outlier, Seos, when Shopify is losing, typically is struggling a lot. We see him on champions like Nautilus and Leona, and those champs, when you're the only engaged, you typically struggle a lot. So for me, I am a pretty big fan of the Seos less than 18.5 assists because they're essentially going up against the best team in the league. And for me, just the way FlyQuest plays the map, the way their lanes play, I do think Masu and Busio from time to time can make a blunder or a misstep, but I also believe that when it comes to mid-game, most of these game states should not be close, and as a result, I feel like Seos might struggle to find a lot of these engages. So for me, I'm actually a pretty big fan mathematically of the Seos under 18.5 assists on maps 1, 2, and 3.
All right.
I like it, actually.
Maybe. Good argument.
I honestly think that's the safer bet than because I actually did have a less than as well, Mahir. I did the less than for Blippo-inspired quad combination kills, but I think Seos is basically, it's the same matchup of teams, but that's a much safer one. I actually do think that's like less variance because you only have the one player to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think also, like, I'm typically someone who I hate when people make judgment off the last week of regular season. But holy moly, I feel like there's so much we learned from the last week of regular season. Whether it's Shopify getting absolutely manhandled, whether it's FlyQuest playing like T1. Like if we removed nameplates, I would have thought that was T1. Like I feel like even though I typically stray away from making huge judgment calls after the last week of regular season, I just feel like there is a lot that can be learned or inferred from the way the games were played. So for me, again, like I said, I'm a big fan of the Seos less than 18.5 assists square.
That's good. I like this a lot. I think it's super fun, and I'm happy that you're bringing up the lessons from the last weekend, because I don't know if at some point in time we're going to talk about C9. I know Cubby put out the Vulcan one, but I guess we haven't talked too much about them yet. But okay, what's your next square, Mahir?
So my next square was Masu more than 16.5 kills in maps 1, 2, and 3. And if I have to go to reasoning, first reasoning being it's Masu. Second of all, I mentioned the nerfs earlier, which again I don't think are game breaking for either champion, either Jinzao or Nefiri. But you did mention the Iron ban, which is obviously very true. But I just have a gut feeling that, I mean, even last playoffs, Inspired was kind of banished onto tank duty. Now we could see some Viego, we could see some Jarvan, but predicting Inspired to play more supportive / enabling style champions, I have faith in Masu to hit the over. And what I did to kind of justify this is right off the bat, Masu averages 5.5 kills a game. Pretty much every game he's around that marker, 5 to 6, with some games above and a couple games below. And in their series against C9, FlyQuest, most of their objective fights were around the bot side. They didn't care too much about grubs. Obviously, Otacon you don't control, but FlyQuest played for dragons like crazy in that series, especially when they had Prio in their lanes. So for me, just based on the fact that FlyQuest played through bot a lot, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more Annie picks. And typically when you see Annie, it's not
that Annie champion's disgusting.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, obviously with it being fearless, if it gets picked GG, but with Annie potentially being a pick that quad might play, I feel like we can kind of lean into Masu averaging a little bit more kills per game.
I will say I think that talking about the different champ pools is like really valid with some of this. We can't predict exactly what's going to get played, but I think Mahir is saying that stuff's going to be different is fair. And I agree with some of the, like what he said so far, but like it still is kind of hard to guess drafts. I think my one concern is seeing where Senna falls in the meta, because like I don't know if Senna's pick ban or if she's going to be like a game 1, game 2, or game 3 pick, that's a champ to me where you're going to have less kills. Also, Poke Varus is probably out or very heavily deprioritized now. I think that there are enough answers and that champion's fallen off a bit. Sometimes just being able to participate in kills is really big, right? You might pick up 1 or 2 more just because you have the range. So I'm still with you on this, but I think that like all the numbers, there is some other context with bot lane that we could see. Because again, like in the Senna, Masu is a really good Senna player, but one of the answers to Senna is Smolder. And if you get going as Smolder, like you get a bajillion kills in the game too. So like that could be a positive as well, you know?
Yeah, and for sure. That's actually, sorry to cut you off. I just want to like hit this really quickly. That's something I looked into because I actually picked it in LCK last night. Obviously, I'm not making a one-to-one comparison, but
Senna should be played. Senna's strong right now. Yeah,
100%. Whether it's B-Boy or Masu playing it, Gumushi picked it, and the support of choice was Nautilus, which typically it's like Nautilus, I think Ornn. If you're Carrier, Lee Sin, Sejuani.
Well, the Senna's farming now, so that's the difference. So like it's mostly Senna not. Yeah.
So it's Senna farming.
Yeah.
And typically with a lot of these game average times going to 30 minutes, I actually believe Senna 1 is going to hit like a truck. And trucks, like, they hit pretty hard. Yeah. Gumushi finished with 8 kills. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Masu's Gumushi, but I also think it's typically like
really good.
In the past, if you pick Senna, it was like, oh, you're going to get like 1 to 2 kills max. Because you were playing the fasting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like the Enchanter Senna. But with the build that is strongest right now and the fact that it is farming Senna, I have pretty good faith that Busio will be banished onto Nautilus, even though I'm not a fan of Busio Nautilus whatsoever.
Yeah, Masu Senna is really good. That's like the first champion that I associated with him when he was playing in like tier 3. His Senna is like actually unreal.
So for me, I actually think if he gets Senna, I actually have a lot of faith that he would get more kills on that. Someone mentioned Ashe, I believe, in chat earlier. So I considered the Senna pick, and there obviously is the risk of like, oh, he goes 2, 2, and 12. But with the Senna in mind, with the champions you typically pick with the Senna, I still have a lot of faith in that pick specifically. And again, like I said, against the struggling bot lane, I feel like that my 2 last picks are complementary. So with how I expect SR's bot lane to struggle, I feel like FlyQuest is going to be performing quite well. Obviously, I think top side is the carries, but I do have a lot of faith in Masu for this one.
Wow, you just bored Cubby with that take. That's crazy.
Oh, I think something else to look out for at home if you guys are going to be playing these later on in drafts. If a lot of these support engagers are taken, you have to take enchantresses, and for me, that's like a lot. There are some picks down there that are more likely where you can actually score more kills at support. So you might be able to get the support kill square for like a single game. Because game 4 and 5, they release squares for the single games.
Oh,
So that's something to
interesting.
look out for.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's one that nobody's mentioned. We kind of talked about it earlier, but nobody put it as like one of their picks, and I'm actually thinking about it now.
Well,
What do we
sorry, I
think
just want to
about-
make sure, Mahir, is this your full lineup? Because I know you were talking about maybe doing more than 2.
So I had the teal one. I had the Seos under one. I think we had that one. So the Seos under.
It was the TL, the
Yeah.
APA Yawn more combo.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had that one just with Kangas, and then the other 2 you have.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So what do we think about under for UG 19.5 map assists? Because if he only plays 2
if
games,
he subs out.
if he subs out for one of the first 3 games, like that seems pretty likely.
Is that a? I don't know if that ends up counting because I think it ends up
Yeah,
being
mine
a
void.
DNP.
Mine void.
I think it avoids
So you it doesn't like factor. Like,
yeah. Adam will be is in the chat who does this all the time. Will let us know how that will end up working. But
okay,
I'm pretty
I thought maybe I
sure
found a way to cheat it. You know,
they have to be playing for all the games in order for it to count. So.
Okay. Well, never mind then. In that case, I think it's harder to call.
But that is I like that thinking though. Very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who all Cubby? It sounds like you're a fan of Mahir's lineup.
Yeah. I think 3 is a little bit more difficult, and I'm a little bit where I've been avoiding the 80 kill square when looking at this.
No,
Because
that's
I actually think that the 80 meta is like really different. I'm just curious to see where it lands going into playoffs. You cannot deny Senna, you cannot deny Lucian anymore. These teams should have had time to like figure it out. That's what NACL is doing. I think that Caitlyn can sneak in like later on. It's gotten a lot weird. Like it's gotten really weird.
And by the way, Mahir,
2,
if you were to play this, would you play flex play or power play?
I'm actually not too familiar with the options.
So
I
power
will
play
just-
means you have to hit all 3 of them, and then if that happens, you get a 5x payout. If flex play means that if you hit only 2, you get your money back. But if you hit 3, you only get a 2.25 payout.
So just based off of gut feeling, I would just go with the power play.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Cubby's hesitancy. Not really hesitancy, but like I see his doubts for the Masu pick specifically. So if you are worried about that one, I go with the flex play. But personally, if I were to play this lineup, I would definitely just take the power play. I don't expect FlyQuest versus SR to be really that close. Unless SR has cooked something behind the scenes, I will swallow my words and shave my head if SR wins this series. But I think it's like a FlyQuest.
What's wrong with shaving your head, Mahir? Why is that such a big punishment?
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
He said he would do it. He'll need to cheer himself up, I think, from the loss, and so he'll shave his head as a way to do it.
I've just been blinded by a few people on the road. Their heads were way too shiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will add. So again, like we're covering games 1 through 3. So obviously live, they publish squares for games 4 and 5. Teams have started to figure out that you can ban something early on in Fearless Draft, and then later on drop that ban on blue side. So we started to see teams, if they don't want to play Nefiri in game 1, but they might want it later on, like that's a pick. I think that that's something where if you really feel like the series is coming down to, okay, they've got to give up the Gwen Rumble handshake or something like that. I think that there are some there is high variance in draft in terms of what you're going to get. So I think that with the live squares, if you feel like a series is going to come down to, oh, this team has to give up this pick, or like this is going to get played, I think that is something legitimate where you can maybe find edge when you live bet this, or if you live bet this. So yeah.
Mahir, what do you think about Damonte in the chat taking a lot of issues with your lineup?
Listen, Damonte. There's a lot of bark and no bite. And we refer to things that bark a lot as dogs, and you guys look pretty dog shit last week. So hopefully you guys can get it together. Because I'm praying for you. I love Fudge. Fudge is a really good friend of mine. I love Damonte. Damonte's a pretty good friend of mine. I hope you guys get it together. But like, so far it's been all bark, no bite.
Damn.
Well, we'll
Hey,
see how things
Travis.
go this weekend. Yeah, I mean, it's
You know, I said on the podcast last week, I think that it was the most animated I've ever seen Revin like cheering on his team for a win when Fudge was back there.
yeah.
You know, they've got the guys going. They're carrying. Anyway, I thought I just had to bring that up now for whatever reason. You know.
Well, we'll see how things go this weekend. I do like that we're all just kind of, I mean, not to go too far off the thing here, but Mahir, I assume that you just kind of are done with C9 after that last weekend, because you said you don't try to adjust after a final week, but that was pretty rough, yeah.
So for me, again, like you mentioned, I agree. I didn't really try to make too many like haste judgments, but also C9 is like this it's like this paradox where it's like they're too talented to be bad. Like they have Loki, who for the first few weeks looked like an MVP candidate. They have Sven, who I think has had a really good split and season overall. And I think Vulcan's had a career resurgence. Sonato's in lane is really good. So for me, it's like I'm a little bit hesitant to take C9 over C9 more squares, but I wouldn't count them out either. Because it's like we're talking players and coaches with the pedigree of Sven, Vulcan, Blabber, and also Reaper has been there so many times that I know for a fact after that last week they weren't sunshine and rainbows come scrims. So part of me is like I don't know what to think of this team, because at their best I think they're the second best team, but at their worst I don't want to say words. You might get the stream offline.
I mean, we saw their worst in the fastest series of this split.
Just there's a sponsored content. I'm not trying to.
How kind of you? How kind of
sponsorship.
You?
Of course, anytime.
Last question for you, Mahir. Basil in the chat really wants to know why you don't have pillow covers.
Because I'm doing laundry.
Yo, called it. I had your back. Remember that when you get your one free shot that I owe you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kangas, we'll wrap it up on a couple just fun notes from everybody. So for you, what are you most looking forward to this weekend for playoffs?
I am just looking forward to the TLC9 match. That one's hard to predict, but I think has the potential to be a giga banger, just because TL overperformed expectations with Eiji coming in, or at least my expectations. I thought they were going to win that series, but they really smashed it. And C9 vastly underperformed expectations. So now I'm like, I think it's like a 3-horse race in playoffs, and that's going to be a very important match. Sorry, Damonte. I'm back in the Shopify, kind of being frauds up there in the upper brackets. So, yeah.
Cubby, how about you? What are you looking forward to this weekend? You have any expectations? Anything you're looking out for this weekend? I assume the TLC9 match is going to be pretty pivotal for you.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see that one. I just want to see how TL plays, if they use Umti as well. I'm expecting to see SR not be as poor as they were in their last outing, but I still don't have a ton of faith in them that series, so I will join there. But yeah, I'm actually excited about the TLC9 series. I am looking forward to watching that as a fan. I hope that you guys are too at home. That should be a really fun one.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We're going to try and do one of these once a week during playoffs, so we'll see what our guest lineup ends up being. We might end up with kind of a rotating slot or two, so it's just kind of trying to get things back in order as we go through playoffs. So if you enjoyed this, please check the link in the description. There's a way you can sign up for Prize Picks. Again, you can go check out the Discord where people will be posting their takes, and you can post yours and ask for advice, etc. Shout out to Adam, who does a great job of helping people in there and sharing his own lineups for people who want to just see what he's doing and all that stuff. So thanks everybody. This has been the show. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring it. We'll see you next week for the next episode of the League Prediction Show.